What is up, guys? James Carter TV here for yet another one of my 2016 NFL Draft Scouting Reports, and today we are looking at Josh Doctson. Now, before I begin that, a lot of you have been commenting lately, James, it looks like you don't like anybody, because we've gotten into a little bit of a range where I haven't liked all the prospects I've been viewing lately. But it ends today, because I actually like Josh Doctson as a prospect more than a lot of people do for the most part. Now, some people are really high on Josh Doctson, like Pro Football Focus. They currently have him as like one of the best 10 prospects. I'm not sure about that, but I do believe we are looking at someone that a lot of people are overlooking in terms of being one of the better prospects in this draft, a first-round talent, I believe, in this draft, especially when you look at how big the wide receiver position is for a lot of these teams in the later part of the first round, and like the Minnesota Vikings that could use a wide receiver, the Cincinnati Bengals who have upcoming wide receiving free agents like Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu, the Carolina Panthers could use another wide receiver, the Kansas City Chiefs could use another wide receiver, the New England Patriots could use another wide receiver. So why there isn't more buzz about Josh Doctson going to one of those teams, I don't know. But I'm here to tell you this. A lot of teams and a lot of people are overlooking this man. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you his strengths, his weaknesses. I'll give you my pro comparison and my best fit for this prospect. And then I will end with my prospect grade for Josh Doctson. And all of this information can be found in the description box below. So let's start with his strengths. Number one, he has some sticky hands. I mean, when the ball touches his hands, they stick. When the ball touches one of his hands, it sticks. I mean, he made one of the most spectacular catches I've seen in college. I can't remember exactly who it was against. I want to say against Iowa State. I may be wrong on that, but anyway, he was on the right side of the end zone. Ball goes to his right hand, and it just sticks to his right hand, and he cradles it and he lands. I mean, all of this happened midair, and he just stuck with one hand. And we're talking about Odell Beckham Jr., who has taken the world by storm with these incredible catches. It's nice to see a prospect coming out that can make catches like this. Of the wide receivers I've scouted, and I haven't scouted too many thus far, it is Josh Doctson and it is Laquan Treadwell that have shown an ability to make this kind of spectacular catch. And a lot of these teams that are considered getting wide receivers is because their quarterbacks aren't great. A lot of them, not all of them. So it's nice to say, well, my quarterback doesn't have to put it in a perfect spot. He can put it a little high, and my guy's still going to grab it and bring it down the end zone for a touchdown. So it's a big deal. And he has some sticky hands. He's reliable. And this is where I don't like Corey Coleman, if you watch my scouting report on Corey Coleman, because his drop rate is ridiculously high. I think it was one of the highest, if not the highest, in terms of the first 3-round wide receiver prospects, while Josh Doctson was leading the pack next to Tyler Boyd in terms of low drop rate. So we're looking at a guy that, compared to his peers and his competitors, has a very low drop rate and has some sticky hands. You don't have to worry about drops when it comes to Josh Doctson. And this is very important to me. It's huge. All right, next, ball tracking. When the ball is in the air, specifically, we're talking about deep balls here. He can track the ball, and he has great timing when it comes to leaving his feet, jumping up for the ball, and putting himself in the highest position possible, in the best position possible to catch the ball, and also maneuvering his way, saying, okay, this is the point I'm going to be, but I can already see that this ball is coming back this way. I got to stop right here if I'm going to catch this pass. I've seen him run a route. It looks like he's going to keep running that route. Notice that Trevon Boykin, his quarterback, threw a ball so poor, stopped completely in his tracks, waited for the ball to get there. The cornerback waited too, but then Josh Doctson was so good at tracking the ball, was able to jump at the perfect time, perfect timing, get the ball, bring it down, first down. I saw this plenty of times. Deep balls, he can adjust so well. Even when the ball's over his head, behind him, can adjust. Oh no, it's going this way, and then come down with the catch. I mean, absolutely tremendous when it comes to tracking the ball. And then when you combine that with the sticky hands that he has, knowing that when he tracks his ball well, and when it touches his hands, it will stick to his hands. Tremendous quality to have. Great juxtaposition there. Next, tremendous length. We're talking about a guy that's 6'3", long arms, long legs. When he jumps up, he has good vertical, I believe. I mean, we'll see what he puts up at the combine, but appears to have a good vertical. Knowing that whenever he jumps up with these long arms and his long legs, he's going to have an advantage over any cornerback he faces. I mean, anybody. I mean, there's not a cornerback that has longer arms, longer combination of length than Josh Doctson. So he will never lose a battle due to length. And then this is, this isn't a huge deal in today's NFL because, wide receivers are getting smaller and smaller anyway. But, and cornerbacks are getting taller and taller, by the way. But at the same time, it's nice knowing that when I'm throwing a fade to Josh Doctson in the end zone, that he can come down with it just because of his length. This is still an important quality to have in the NFL as a wide receiver. And finally, my last strength for this guy, and I alluded to this earlier, he makes spectacular catches. I mean, I said when I was scouting Corey Coleman, I didn't see too many spectacular catches. I saw maybe 2. Josh Doctson, I watched 5 games. I saw maybe 8 or 9. I mean, absolutely tremendous catches he makes on a game-to-game basis because of the skills I alluded to earlier. The great hands, the great timing and ball tracking, the great length, so many spectacular catches, an ability for your quarterback to just throw it in his radius, and then Josh Doctson will find a way to just come down with it, and this is an extraordinary combination to have. Now, with that said, there are some weaknesses here. He's not a perfect prospect, and if he was, oh man, we'd be talking about a possible number 1 overall pick here. Number 1, he has a very limited route tree. I talked about this in my Corey Coleman scouting report. TCU has a similar wide receiver setup as Baylor, a better one, but a similar one in that they run like 4 routes. They run a slant, a curl, a go, and a screen. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. And for Josh Doctson, there weren't many screens, so we're talking about really a slant, a go, and a curl. That's pretty much all you saw him run. You didn't see any comebacks. You didn't see any posts. You didn't see any digs. You didn't see any outs. You didn't see any ins. You didn't see any flats. So he's going to need to develop his route tree when he goes to the NFL, and this will probably hurt him when it comes to coming out of the NFL early. Rookie season, he's not going to be a guy that puts up 1,000 yards his rookie season. He's just not going to have that great of a route tree yet. I think he might be a one-trick pony, maybe someone that they throw out there for deep routes, for a screen every now and then, but not a guy that's out there consistently, unfortunately. But the big thing, can he develop this route tree over his time in the NFL? Early and often, can the coaches beat it into him? Can he learn it? Can he learn it well? I don't know. Hopefully he can, for his sake and for the team's sake that drafts him. But this is a concern. It has to be a concern. Next, he only has average speed and agility for an NFL wide receiver. I think he's going to go to the combine and run a 4.5. If he gets into the 4.4 range, then I'll take this off. I'll just throw it away completely. I think it's going to be a 4.5 something. And it wouldn't shock me if it was a 4.60. Allen Robinson ran a 4.60 at the combine as well. So, I mean, it's average. It's not bad. It's not like, I don't know, Jarvis Landry, who, ended up being a pretty good wide receiver anyway, or Keenan Allen, who ended up being a pretty good wide receiver anyway. So even though I'm talking about this being an issue, it hasn't been a great issue for Keenan Allen, for Jarvis Landry. But the difference between those guys, Jarvis Landry and Keenan Allen, they do a lot of their work inside, in terms of inside routes within 20 yards. Josh Doctson is going to do a lot of his work pretty much 15 yards and beyond. Now, you can throw a slant to him. You can throw a screen to him. But he's pretty much a deep threat. I mean, that's pretty much what you're getting here. And a deep threat can get over 1,000 yards. His name's Allen Robinson. Okay, so you can have a deep threat get over. And Allen Hurns, too. Hey, the Jaguars just have all kinds of deep threats. So that's fine. But if he only has average speed and he's a deep threat, this is kind of a concern. And also his weight, only 195 pounds, standing at 6'3". That's small. And that's an issue when it comes to getting off press coverage against strong cover corners, tall cover corners. Now, there's not too many of those in the NFL right now, but they're coming. Jalen Ramsey's coming. Stanley Jean-Baptiste was drafted a couple years ago. He's that frame as well. Richard Sherman isn't pretty strong, but he's pretty tall and lengthy. Press corner there. So he's going to have some issues against press corners. Against zone corners, he might do better, but he won't be able to just blow past them either. So there are some issues here. But with that said, I really like Josh Doctson. Now, my pro comparison here is very disjointed because I can't find one player that exactly matches him, but I do find traits that he matches up to. So I have three players. Number one, DeAndre Hopkins. In terms of the ability to jump up at the right time, to track the ball correctly, to come down, to have sticky hands, Josh Doctson is a pro comparison there. In terms of a tall wide receiver that is a deep threat, can catch the ball, and might not have great speed, Allen Robinson is a comparison there. And in terms of a guy that's too skinny, Justin Hunter is the comparison there. And Justin Hunter is the worst case scenario, and that's a bad scenario, by the way, because the Tennessee Titans have been waiting for Justin Hunter to improve and to put on weight for years, and he hasn't been able to do it. So that's the worst case scenario we're talking about here, but we need to talk about it. So we have DeAndre Hopkins, we have Allen Robinson, and we have Justin Hunter, each different traits that I find correlates to the player Josh Doctson is in terms of best fit. Again, I think he might fit well in this lower end of the first round range. I would have said Houston, but Houston already has a DeAndre Hopkins type guy. Houston's looking for a possession type wide receiver, a guy that can make a lot of yardage inside. They already have DeAndre Hopkins. They don't need another one. So I went a little later. I said Carolina. I said Kansas City. And Carolina is also a difficult issue because Kelvin Benjamin plays very similar as well. Maybe I should just take Carolina off. But anyway, Kansas City, New England, Tennessee at the beginning of round 2, Cleveland at the beginning of round 2. You do have Josh Gordon there, but I don't trust Josh Gordon to be there. I don't. Dallas Cowboys could use him. Des Bryant, yes, he is another big type guy, but I think you could have an interesting duo there between Josh Doctson and Des Bryant. So I included Dallas there. And pretty much more teams that could need a wide receiver. Can you go to Minnesota at 24? I would consider him. I mean, I put him there too. I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't know why teams don't really like him. I need to look at Michael Thomas. Next up is Michael Thomas out of Ohio State. So I'll tell you whether I find Doctson or Thomas better, but Corey Coleman is out of the decision to me. You go watch my scouting report on Corey Coleman. I'm not high on Corey Coleman. I think he's a late second rounder, maybe a third rounder. I'm not high on Corey Coleman. But I am pretty high on Josh Doctson. And there is upside here. If he can learn the route tree and learn it well, we could be talking about a Pro Bowl player. Now, I don't have him in that range because I'm not going to put you in that range if you have upside. I need to see a little more, but I definitely have him as a good player, as an above-average starter at the wide receiver position, a guy that could be a number 1, might only be a number 2, but could be a number 1 eventually. You might need to give him time. He's not going to come in and be a number 1 immediately. But then if he does develop to that number 1, could also develop into a Pro Bowler. But I give him a grade of 82. It could go up in the combine if he runs well. So again, these grades will be changing and shifting. After the combine, I will release a big board with my new grades. So look out for that. And subscribe for more scouting reports. So Josh Doctson, I like him a lot more than a lot of other people do. And I think if you put up the film and you watch some tape, you will too. Until next time, James Carter TV, I'm out. Peace.